national recruiting analyst Brian Dohn to do some ACC superlatives. And Brian, let's just start with the instant impact player. Tigers fans are going to be happy about your pick for this one. Wide receiver TJ Moore. He was a late addition to five-star status, but how can he come in and make an instant impact at a position of need for Clemson?
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head right there. First, it's a position of need, so there's going to be plenty of competition, for spots, but he's a guy that the talent aspect really shines. I know Andrew and Cooper just spoke about him a little bit. 6'3", 195, he can run. The thing that really stands out to me with him is it doesn't matter if it's single coverage, double coverage, just throw the ball up to him. He's going to find a way to get it. He can stretch the field. He really can get separation down the field. He's a kid that, 50 catches, 1,200 yards, 17 touchdowns. He does a lot in a lot of different ways, and it's not just the long ball. He knows how to sit in the zone and get open. He really works the field well, whether it's the middle, the outside. Going one-on-one with them is really difficult unless you have some really good length at the cornerback position.
I'm hoping to be a mismatch there. Your pick for sneaky good class is the number 27th ranked group, and that is NC State. What do you like so much about this class?
Geez, it's almost like they turned over half their roster with so many kids that they brought in. You're talking about 24 high school kids that they signed, another 12 in the transfer window. And for me, they turned over the skill position room on the offensive side a lot. 8 new receivers, right, from the high school ranks and also from the transfer portal. They got a couple of really big-time players from near campus, Terrell Anderson, Jonathan Paylor, who's kind of like one of those, what you used to call all-purpose back. You could line them up everywhere. They flipped Keenan Jackson, a UNC commit. And then on top of that, they go and get the Coastal Carolina quarterback, who I think everybody knew, despite being at Coastal, with Grayson McCall, in the 3-time Sun Belt Player of the Year, threw for 10,000 yards and 88 touchdowns. They go and get the running back from Duke, Jordan Waters, 820 yards, 12 touchdowns. And by the way, they also brought in Noah Rogers, a receiver from Ohio State, who's from North Carolina, spent a year at Ohio State. And it was almost one of those things where you always felt like he belonged at one of the Carolina schools, even when he went to Ohio State. So they just flipped their entire receiver room and a lot of their roster.
Yeah, doing a lot of work in the transfer portal, but this is just the second time they've had a top 30 recruiting class in the 24/7 sports era. So they're bringing in players from all different walks of life. Let's do your pick for Diamond in the Rough. It is Virginia Tech safety Quentin Reddish. Now, this is probably a guy that some people are hearing for the very first time, so tell us, why does he need to be on our radar at the next level?
Well, I think, first of all, for me is, he's a really productive player. He's a safety who has great length, 6'2", 185-ish. He's already at Virginia Tech. He went above 20 miles per hour with the catapult, which is one of the things we're really doing now to measure top-end speed. And he's really wowed people in the early workouts, but he's a guy that he can play either safety position because he'll hit you. He can also cover. He can flip his hips and kind of run, help down the field. If you need him to go in the slot, I think he can do some of that as far as man-to-man coverage. And he's got tremendous ball skills. You're talking about a guy who not only had close to 200 tackles in his high school career, 14 interceptions, 34 pass breakups. He's always around the ball. And, in a high school game, you don't see a lot of throwing all the time. And when he's back there, you kind of know why, because he can play center field with the best of them.
Call that a ball hawk. Let's go to your pick for baddest dude. It is Miami wide receiver Jojo Trader. What about his game makes him so bad, but in a good way?
Well, look, he's a sensational athlete who catches everything. He makes the routine look easy. And listen, everybody can tell, I'm old, right? I remember when the U was coming up, when Schnellenberger was building them, and then the attitude that was associated with the U, and the documentaries, and he's got some of that. Well, he's got a lot of that, whether it's catching a touchdown, spinning the ball, out jumping a corner to get the ball, and then, kind of pushing his hand down a little bit to suggest how small the corner may be compared to him. But at the end of the day, he's also just a sensational athlete who, look, Miami needs receivers to step up. They lose Colby Young in the transfer portal to Georgia, who was very productive for them. They'll probably look for a receiver in the portal after the spring, but that means Jojo gets a chance to really showcase his skills, and he'll have a chance to win some playing time there.
Yeah, got a pretty good quarterback, too, throwing him some passes down in South Beach. Looking forward to that connection. Your pick for a team that maybe needs some more hype is Florida State. Brian, they're 12th in the nation, so this is a really solid group. Why do they need more attention?
Well, I think a lot of people just look at it and kind of fell out of favor a little bit with how their season ended, and then you have the lawsuit going on, and just it wasn't a good showing with Georgia, and we know what happened with the quarterback situation. But up until a little while ago, they were going to have their first top 10 class since 2017. You mentioned they finished 12th, which is still sensational. You're talking about 10 kids in the top 247. 16 4-stars. They bring in 23 high school kids, 15 transfers, a lot of skill, a couple running backs, 4 receivers, 4 DBs. 2 kids I really like in Jamari Howard and Charles Lester at the cornerback spot. I'm in the Northeast. I'm a defense guy first. I love it. So I love what they bring. And then you got your quarterback in DJ Uiagalelei. I hope I got that, which it's interesting because we all know how it ended with Clemson. He goes out to Oregon State, does really well out there. And the feeling back east may not be as good with him as it was in the West. So it's really his chance to kind of push Florida State to some greater things even this year.
DJU. We're just saying DJU as we welcome him back into the ACC. I cannot wait for some of those revenge games.